Welcome once again to the Catholic View for Women here on EWTN. My name is Teresa Tomeo, along with my co-hosts Astrid Bennett Gutierrez and Janet Marana, and we truly try every single episode to give you news and views from a truly Catholic perspective. Now, you recall, if you've been watching, in the previous two episodes, we've been featuring an amazing woman of God. She's a convert to the Catholic Church. Her name is Sue Ellen Browder. She's written a fantastic book called Subverted. She's a convert, again, to the Catholic Church. And we mentioned in our last episodes some of the problems that she incurred when she was actually writing before she came back or came into the Catholic faith. She was writing about all these horrible things that were going on in our culture, making up a lot of it. This is when she worked for Cosmopolitan magazine. So she knows firsthand the damage that these types of publications can do. So again, this is not an indication that we're trying to promote a magazine like Cosmo. Quite the opposite. In this episode, we are going to look at how magazines, including Cosmopolitan, really hurt women and especially younger women. And there are some great alternatives out there that we want to share with you as well. And I know, Astrid, this is near and dear to your heart with the chastity work that you do.
Absolutely. And I know that women are trying to find answers for even simple things like, you know, how to eat healthy, how to dress. You want to be stylish. You want to get the jobs. You want to look right, you know. So we naturally are attracted to these things. We're all about parenting and all of this. So sadly, a lot of the mainstream publications are magazines like Cosmo that give women erroneous information. Yeah, they might give you something about dieting or, you know, eating healthy, but then you get all these messages about how to be able to succeed, you need to dress a certain way. Sometimes it's very immodestly, you know, that success in your career is the ultimate good, or having a very, very active sexual promiscuous life is the ultimate good. So we need alternatives for women, but alternatives that really address all these different issues. So one wonderful magazine that I found that was started a few years ago is called Verily Magazine.
It's great.
It's easy to find on the internet, verilymag.com. It's not a Catholic magazine, I would say, but you can tell it's made by Catholics. So what it means is it gives you all this information about different things that we think about every day, about how to dress, you know, health issues, parenting, career. But the perspective is very, very good for women. It's very wholesome. The women there are not airbrushed and all, you know, it's very real, beautiful women. Women are beautiful.
And they also pick up a lot on the culture. And I was telling you ladies before the show that they did not too long ago a really good piece on Kim Kardashian. And Kim Kardashian, of course, of the selfie craze and you know, keeping up with the Kardashians. She did something this year where she took another, you know, very promiscuous photo of herself, and she was claiming, oh, it's because I'm proud of my body. And the article said, no, this is more about, you know, basically putting yourself out there so you can make some more money. And I know, Janet, as a mom of three, your girls are all grown now and married, thanks be to God, right? But that was a challenge raising three girls in terms of the culture changing so quickly.
Sure. I mean, I can remember a whole list of my don't list. You know, you shall not do this or that, and you know, some of them was the big rage when they were teenagers was girls was going out without their parents' permission and getting tattoos and all kinds of extra piercings and all that. And I was like, not under my roof, you know, and not with any allowance money I'm giving you or the money they were earning. And and also too with the clothing. I was very happy that, you know, in high school they were in Catholic high school because there was a uniform to wear every day, so that cut down the discussion. But even what they wore, you know, when it was taking off that uniform, I still would say, you know. But they were good as far as a lot of that is concerned. But you have to stay on top of it. You really have to stay, you know, close to your daughters and really look to see what they're reading. And talking about, you know, Cosmopolitan magazine, like we said, we're not endorsing it, but the danger is it's all over the place. It's at the checkout counter when you go to the supermarket. They're at your grocery store, the Walmart and different stores. Pharmacies, they're there. You know, you go into the big bookstores, it's all over. And also the other danger is you go into your doctor's office. Like you might be bringing your young daughters to the pediatrician or to the dentist. It's sitting there in the pile, and if you find it there, you've got to pick that up. Of course, don't let the daughters read it, but bring it into the doctor and say, do you realize how harmful this magazine is? And I don't want this in the waiting room. Because very often, the people who are ordering the subscriptions for the doctor's offices, it's not the doctor himself, even though it comes in his name. It's really, he's not deciding. It's the secretary, and they might have a different agenda than the doctor, for all you know.
And sadly, Cosmo seems to be interchangeable with women's magazine.
Right, they put it in the section with the Good Housekeepings and,
Yes, of
and the
course.
Family
It's in
Circle,
Ladies' Home
and
Journal
Ladies'
and
Home
all
Journal,
that.
but
And
you're also getting, by the way, racier and racier, and including articles about
They are.
transgender and everything else, and very accepting of
Right.
quote unquote alternative
we have-
lifestyles
we have
that go
better
against the church.
alternatives. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
absolutely.
interesting enough, there's a lady that's really fighting Cosmo, and it's a little humorous in a way. Her name is Victoria Hearst, and yes, she's part of the famous Hearst publishing family. Randolph William Hearst is her grandfather, and she is a Christian, and she's horrified what Cosmopolitan has turned into, because it used to be a nice women's magazine.
Sue Ellen brought that out in her book.
In her book,
Right.
that this is what Cosmo used to be, and Helen Gurley Brown took it in a bad direction, and it's just been going down, down, down all the way. Now, Victoria, you would think, well, can't she change this with a magic wand? She can't, because she's only one voting member on a big board. But she says, okay, they're not going to listen to me. She's taken her fight to the public, and she's really trying to raise awareness as to Cosmo will harm your children. So we had a chance to chat with her recently, and let's see what a great crusader Victoria is for the truth.
Hi, my name is Victoria Hearst. I am the granddaughter of William Randolph Hearst. Some of you may have heard of him through Hearst Castle in California, or the Hearst Corporation, the publishing company in New York City. And the publishing company of Hearst Corporation produces newspapers and magazines, and we're in television and radio. We have 21 magazines that the Hearst Corporation publishes, and one of them is Cosmopolitan magazine. Many of you probably see that on the rack next to the cashier in stores like Walmart and Target and Food Lion and Publix, other stores. What you probably don't know is that although Cosmopolitan looks like a woman's magazine, a fashion magazine, it is in fact a pornographic magazine. And in one of its departments titled Love and Lust, it has graphic adult sexual pornographic material. So what God told me to do, I'm a Christian, I have a ministry in Colorado called Praise Ministries, and what the Lord told me to do 3 years ago was make sure that this magazine is not sold to minors. Now, I'm not on the board of the Hearst Corporation. I have no power to tell them what to do. But what my campaign, which is called the Cosmo Harms Minors campaign, which we're going to talk about today, my campaign wants to simply get Cosmopolitan magazine labeled adult material and kept out of the hands of minors. Unfortunately, the people on the board of directors at the Hearst Corporation has absolutely no interest in that. And I have contacted them, I've shown them material, I've shown them the material harmful to minors laws that many states have that prohibit this kind of material to be sold by retailers to minors. And it's unfortunate, but right now the people in authority at the Hearst Corporation simply do not care. Cosmo is our #1 selling magazine, and they need the Lord. They don't care that it contains pornography, and they will not label the magazine. So what we're going to talk about today are the things that I am doing with my Cosmo Harms Minors campaign, along with the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, to have these laws enforced against the magazine in different cities. You have to go to DAs, you have to go to sheriffs, family organizations to build up the pressure for these cities and counties to do that. And also, I'm here today to make you all aware of this magazine. It's not just another dirty magazine like Playboy or Penthouse. Cosmopolitan pushes a lifestyle that they call being a fun, fearless female. And what that entails is leading a very depraved, dangerous, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually, a very, very dangerous, depraved life that is certainly not pleasing to the Lord and very, very damaging. It is aimed at tweens and teens and college kids. Cosmo says this is their best-selling young women's magazine. They have articles about what college are what are the best colleges to go to, not to learn, but to have sex at. Dress sexy, be beautiful, be young, be thin. And if you're not having sex, which is the woman named Helen Gurley Brown, was hired to be the editor-in-chief of this magazine in 1965. Before then, Cosmopolitan magazine was a family magazine. It was first published in 1896 as a woman's magazine and a family magazine. And when it started to go downhill, in 1965, the Hearst Corporation decided that sex sells. They hired Helen Gurley Brown, who was an infamous feminist. And one of the things Helen Gurley Brown said to young women is, quote, "If you're not having sex, you're finished," unquote. Well, that's not what God says. And this magazine is hurting a lot of people. And I will not stop my campaign until either the Hearst Corporation labels this magazine adult material or until these material harmful to minors laws are enforced against it.
Good for her.
I know. Imagine. So, she really doesn't care what her family thinks or what the board thinks, because she's more worried about what the Lord thinks. And she said, this is dishonoring God and not what God wants for women. And she's on a campaign to, like she just said, to get it either labeled properly or out altogether.
It's so surreal for me because I grew up, reading this magazine and not thinking anything of it, which is so sad. And seeing my family reading the Spanish version of Cosmo, because it's all over the world.
It's all over the world in many languages.
And how insidious it is. So for me, it's a little surreal to be talking about this topic when I used to have it there, in my house, and I read it. And to hear her say it's pornographic. Now pornography is relative. That's not pornography. And if you read it,
well,
really
we've been so
honestly,
desensitized to it.
Right. But good for her. And I think all of us can take on that crusade. And it is effective to speak up because like stores, they care about their consumers and what they want and protecting the young eyes. So hopefully people will be encouraged to do what she's doing and speak up.
You wonder how many people on the board have daughters, have children. I mean, what are they thinking? I mean,
well, like she said, part of it is that it's the #1 selling magazine that the Hearst Corporation has. I mean, they have a whole multimedia, all kinds of things they're involved in, but Cosmo is their #1, so it's about money. I mean, when boards sit around and have meetings, what do they look at? How's our stock doing?
Oh, I understand that, but I'm saying at some point,
they're not thinking of how it's affecting their families. They're thinking about their bottom line people that sit mostly at these board meetings. And, while she said she doesn't have a vote on the board, she has presented to them. She's done everything you can imagine. And that's why now she's taken the campaign to us, the consumer, to say, okay, I can't get the corporation to listen. Then the consumer, if we stop buying the product, get stores to, she actually, through her work, has Walmart now, that they're supposed to have this like a yellow sleeve kind of on the magazine that you can't see all the sexy women on the cover, scantily dressed. It has to be kind of, you just see the name of the magazine up here and the rest is kind of covered. So Victoria points out that if you go into your Walmart and you see Cosmo out like that and not covered, she wants you to take the magazine, ask for the store manager, and say it's company policy to have this shaded up. And I know it. I heard that the company, and please check this out, and I'm offended. I want you following company policy. And then she said the next time you go in, check it again. And if they haven't changed it, then write to the corporation and tell them that your local Walmart is not following what they've agreed to do.
And even if the companies don't have any type of a policy like that, you would still go to your supermarket or your pharmacy. If you're there with your children on a regular basis, you're a customer.
Exactly.
And that money counts. And everyone, the marketers are looking at you with a big dollar sign on your head. This is what I tell people when I do my media talks all the time. You are a consumer. You go in there and you're telling them that I come and I shop here every single week, or I bring my family through here. I remember when 50 Shades of Grey came out a few years ago. I was so upset with our local supermarket. I went and I told the manager, I brought the book up, and I actually, before I did that, I took all the books and I moved them to the back so I hid them underneath the other books. Because I'm thinking of the moms walking by with their
children,
with their kids.
Did that, my goodness.
And I went up to the manager and told him about it.
I do that too when I see Cosmo now, and especially when you're going through airports and stuff.
Well, now you've got your grandchildren to think about.
Right? I take them and put them behind something so they're not seen. Oh, sure. I have my daughters and my grandchildren to think about because, I mean, I'm a grandma. I have two granddaughters. I mean, they're babies now, but still, this is what's out there. This is what's luring young girls away. And I think the things that that really gets me is that they're making it sound like this glamorous lifestyle, you know, and it's like Sue Ellen talked about. This making it to the top is all about having sex, dress scantily, you know, this be successful. Children are nowhere to be found.
And so
like,
this is what
you
the
know,
women's liberation movement has gotten us after
That's
all
right.
these years. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. All right,
Yeah.
we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have some great resources for you and how you can stand up for better publications. And we'll also give you the website for that terrific young women's magazine that we highly recommend, and that's called Verily. More information for you, keeping you connected to your faith right here on the Catholic View for Women. Teresa Tamio, Astra Bena Gutierrez, and Janet Marana. We'll be right back. Thanks for watching. Welcome back to the Catholic View for Women. Teresa Tamio along with Astra Bena Gutierrez and Janet Marana talking about how Cosmopolitan magazine harms minors. We mentioned Verily magazine during the last segment of our program. There are a lot of different Catholic publications, not all that many that deal with the issues of young women, but Verily is very good. There are a lot of really good apostolates, though, producing very wholesome, helpful materials for families.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, Jeanette Bankovic has the something for young teens, and all those are available at the EWTN.
Well, her Young Women of Grace study is fantastic. I endorsed it. Right.
Yeah, and most people are getting their media from social media, online. So I would look up things like the Culture Project, the Chastity Project. They have fantastic information that's easily shareable, because you want to share things. You want to read something, you want to share it, and more people will get plugged into good publications. So Verily magazine is online, verilymag.com, but they're on social media, Facebook, Twitter, all that. So there are a lot of things, and like you said, if we begin to saturate our homes with really good material that gives us a different perspective, because we want to be aware of what's going on in the culture, what is the church's take on it. Verily Mag does a great job of doing that, but there's so many other great things online,
Well,
that we can look up.
I think what we should do too is, and Teresa, I know you've brought this up before in many of your books, is kind of do a media check of your home.
I call it a media reality check.
Right. So start with, what magazines are currently coming into your home? What are you subscribing to as a family? Make a list and look at that list and say, are all the publications on this list honoring God? Because that's what Victoria Hearst is really bringing out. Is this honoring God? No, it's not. The Cosmo is going down the other direction. Look and see what's coming into your home. And if there's something that's not good, cancel the subscription and tell them why. And then, make sure you are bringing good things in. Like, what newspaper is your family looking at? Is it maybe National Catholic Register, which is great to get the news of the church, or you're just relying on your local secular paper that's filled with probably some news, but all kinds of other bad things, I think we have to really look at, and what are our young people reading? Your kids are bringing home from the corner store that they bought a magazine. Look in your children's rooms and see what are they reading. I know I used to check on my daughters and, see like, what's that magazine laying around? What's this? And they say, oh, I don't like that magazine. You really have to give that parental influence to what you're allowing them to have. And I know, Teresa, you've done a lot about this, about the media that they are saturated with.
Well, they're saturated with it. And the thing that frustrates me so much is that parents are saying they don't want to invade their children's privacy. I'm like, excuse me, I'm 56. My mother is still invading my privacy. And I'm your mother, and I'm going to be your mother till the day I die. And then I'm going to come back and haunt you, she tells me. I'm sorry. It's not that your kids are bad. It's that the stuff and the different entities out there are trying to get at your children. I mean, Cosmo wants to hook young girls. Planned Parenthood wants to hook young girls because the younger and younger they can get them. They get them hooked on birth control. They get them hooked on the sexually promiscuous lifestyle. It keeps them in business.
Absolutely.
That's right.
One question that I have, you think, why is Cosmo the top-selling women's magazine? What is in there that's so attractive to women? And one thing that's really interesting to note is that the two most common topics that are searched for on the internet, the two most common topics, sex and God. So these two things are what people either are driven to. Either it's going to be...
What does that tell you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're feeling this void. And sex, of course, God created it, something sublime. Unfortunately, in the wrong context, it's very, very damaging and dangerous. So if you give children, your young people, something compelling, something inspiring, a vision to shoot for, something to fight for, that's attractive to them. It's going to fill that void, and you want it to be filled with God, because God has dreams for your children that you want them to fulfill. But it's up to you to help them get there, and to do it in a loving way, introduce these things. And Verily magazine, for example, is really good. The articles there are very, very good. They're very uplifting. They're very practical. And I think a young woman who is discovering her faith is going to feel so supported that she can be in the world, dealing with the topics that a lot of girls deal with, but in a perspective that honors her dignity.
I also like the fact that, as you mentioned earlier, that they're on the cutting edge with these issues that are facing young women. I mean, Kim Kardashian has built an entire industry and now a clothing line from Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and is not, I don't think, a good example for young women or for anybody. And they write about that. They speak about that. And they also, the clothes that they advertise and the fashion sections they do are very contemporary, but they're very well done. There seems to be this image out there that if you're a faith-filled woman, that you have to be frumpy. And Janet Bekovic and I talk about this all the time on the speaking circuit. Faithfulness does not equal frumpiness. You can dress nicely, you can wear makeup, and obviously if you're a mom, you have to decide what age is appropriate for your daughter, but it's okay to look nice.
Yes. In Verily magazine, what I loved is that they're setting a good example for other magazines, because the other magazines are taking notice that Verily magazine does not use airbrushed and photoshopped images. And they say, wait a minute, that must be a good thing for women. So they're beginning to look at Verily magazine as an example, so they really are being a light in the world.
Yeah, that's the other thing about Cosmopolitan and these other fashion magazines is these women, they may be real in terms of being real models, but the images are airbrushed, to the nth degree, and so they don't look that perfect or that thin or that shapely, whatever image you're trying to project depending on the month. Nobody is that perfect.
No, not at all. I mean, I can remember, with my three daughters, the big deal when they were in 8th grade. I took them to the department store to one of the nice makeup counters, and as a graduation gift, I had the cosmetologist there, the makeup person, show them, okay, if you're going to wear makeup for your skin tone, here's how you do it, here's the thing, and I got them a little starter set of, okay, when you are going to make makeup, not that they wore it every day, but here, I kind of started them off on the right foot so that they wouldn't overpaint themselves, because there was a big rage back then for a while there where they were like, some girls were wearing this overdone makeup. And so as a mom, I figured, and I'm not very good at makeup myself, so I didn't want to pass on bad advice, so I took them and got them some good advice, and to this day, The three of them, they all do different degrees of how much makeup they wear. One of my daughters practically nil to none, more like her mom sometimes. But sometimes you have to take them hand by hand and show them these different things. And and I think the good magazines, they're cool too. I don't want people to think that magazine is just like, oh, it's too stuffy. No, they're addressing the issues of the day, but in a godly way.
And speaking of godly ways, we have some other great resources too.
That's
folks.
right.
Yep.
Well, of course, starting with our patroness for our programs, it's the Kitchen Madonna. And of course, her symbolism is beautiful. She has the kettle here, which reminds us to not nourish ourselves in body, but also in our soul spiritually. She has the broom here, which means we keep that house clean, but also cleanliness in our thoughts and in our actions. And of course, the keys here keep the house safe, locked up safe at night, but also she's the one to show us the keys to the kingdom, to Jesus, is the answer.
I really like the bronze version. I think that's really
It's
pretty.
beautiful, and it's available at the EWTN Religious Catalog, and I know we all have her in our homes. And I tell you, a lot of positive conversations happens around our dining room table because the Kitchen Madonna is there looking over. And of course, we want to get to our homework, right? Which of course, we want to remind everyone about reading Sue Ellen Browder's book, Subverted, which is available at the EWTN Religious Catalog, followed by Teresa's book, Extreme Makeover, also at the EWTN Religious Catalog. And both books really are a nice companion.
Yeah, people are actually buying them together. As a set. Yeah.
Great, and I highly recommend them. Get your daughters and you to read them too. Also, check out the alternative to Cosmo called Verily Magazine, and you can go to their website, verilymag.com. And then, of course, go to our website, thecatholicviewforwomen.com, for more information. All information on our other program is there. Plus, we have a sign-up form for our monthly newsletter we send out via email. And also, 2 previous episodes there. There's a great link, too, where you can purchase at the EWTN catalog the full series of these shows. You can have the whole series. And then, therefore, you can watch them with your daughters and have a discussion of these important topics. And finally, we, as you said, social media, Astrid, we're on Facebook. So, like the Catholic View for Women.
Be our friend.
Be our friend
on Facebook. All right, ladies, thanks for Janet Marana from Priest Her Life and Silent No More, and of course, Astrid Bene-Gutierrez from the Vita Initiative. I'm Teresa Tomeo from Catholic Connection and EWTN. Thanks for watching another episode of The Catholic View for Women. And remember, you can do a lot better, and so can the entire world, than Cosmo Magazine. We'll see you next time on The Catholic View. Take care.